Hi everyone. I wanted to continue with the video that I did yesterday. I was posting about offerings and then how to dispose of offerings, since I've been getting a lot of those questions. And so a lot of times, a big question is, how long do you leave an offering out before you dispose of it? And the general rule is that you dispose of it once it begins to decay. So when you are making an offering, you are giving the spirit or the deity or the saint, whomever you're working with, the first serving of the food or the offering that you have, whether it's just fresh fruit or whether you've prepared something in particular. So you give them the first serving or the first bites, as we would say, and you would serve it to them typically on a plate that is reserved only for offerings. I have a set of, maybe 5 different plates that I rotate depending who I'm working with. And I don't use my regular dishes for this. And this is a very common tradition. I don't know how absolutely necessary it is, but I think it's a great tradition because we are doing something apart from the mundane, and our regular dinner dishes are part of our mundane lives. They're not necessarily part of our spiritual lives or our spiritual practice. So you would offer the first bite or the first serving on a particular dish or dishes that are reserved for this specific use. And typically you dispose of them, like I said, once they start to decay. There are also traditions that use divination to determine when the offering should be disposed of. I don't do this. Typically, I replace my offerings every day that I'm working with that particular spirit or deity. And then at the very end of it, I might leave the last one out for 2 days, maybe 3, but usually at the end of the third day, I've disposed of it because it's starting to get pretty dry and crusty. So typically, the rule is if you wouldn't eat it, don't serve it to your spirit or your deity. Same goes with glasses of water or wine. I set out fresh water and fresh wine almost daily because, I don't really want to drink a glass of water or wine that's been sitting around for 2 or 3 days. I don't know about you, but so I change mine out every day. I think that's something that's overlooked by people, but it's a really simple thing. It takes you 2 seconds to pour some more wine or some more water, and wash the glass out real quick. So that is disposal. And when I talked yesterday in the previous video about where to dispose offerings of, and this is determined by the type of working that you're doing, and the meaning of that working and the end result is. So I wanted to talk about a couple more places today. When you are disposing of something that you want to get away from you, this is like if you're doing a lost and away spell, if you have somebody harmful in your life or somebody that is abusive, somebody abusive in any way, mentally, emotionally, physically, verbally. If you have somebody who's harassing you, stalking you, things like this. So that's when you would do a lost and away spell. And this particular type of working, and there are other workings along this line, you would have to take the remnants, which is typically a jar and then some candle wax remnants, to a moving body of water. So this is like a lake or a river. I prefer to take them to rivers because I can put them in and I know that they're going downstream. When you put things like this into a lake, and this is just kind of like a pet peeve for me. Like this is just a personal detail I follow. Lakes wash things back ashore. So to me, that's just whatever you put in that lake to get rid of, it's just washing it right back up. So for me personally, I don't do the lake thing for lost and away spells or those types of workings. But typically a lake is considered a live body of water. So and what a live body of water is something that is fed by another water source. So that would be a river in your lake. Things like ponds, that is where you would, if you were doing like a salt jar or a vinegar jar or a stop gossip working, anything like that where You want that person to be still and stagnant, and to stop what they're doing. And if you were doing other works like, maybe revenge works or retribution, and you are sending this energy out there to be reversed back to them, you would take the end result, which is your jar, your candle remnants, or your packets, or whatever. You would take those. You would take your end remnants of that working and take them to a pond. Ponds are not living bodies of water; they're considered dead bodies of water in magical practices, because they're not being fed. It only gets filled up when it rains, and it evaporates, and they're usually kind of like gross and rotten and stinky. And so that's why you would take that type of working, the end remnants of it. That's why you would take it to a pond. So then there's things like railroad tracks. That's a really common one. I think railroad tracks are kind of all-purpose. That's like, there's just stuff, trains are coming and going, and they're considered kind of a traditional sacred space. It's kind of like a crossroads in a lot of ways. So you could bring something in with that, or you could take something out with that. That just depends on your intention. And as I said, it kind of goes back to like the lake thing. If your intention is to get something away from you, your intention is what matters. It's not necessarily where your ending place is, where your ending disposal place or burial place is. And another thing I wanted to talk about was yesterday when I was talking about leaving offerings in public places. There will probably be some people out there who disagree with me to do it as quickly as possible, but I figure anything that you have to say of importance has already been said during your working. So when you go drop off the remnants, the most important thing for me is your safety. And a lot of times when we're dropping things off in public places at night, it can look kind of suspicious. So, and there are lots of times things like cemeteries that are closed after a certain time, parks are closed after a certain time, and you don't want to cause any trouble for yourself or endanger yourself by going to a place in the dark where maybe you're not technically legally supposed to be. So when I say just drop your stuff off and go, I'm talking about public places or places where you're going after hours where technically they're closed. If you're dropping something off in the middle of the day at a railroad track or a crossroads or at a lake or river, and you have time to hang out there, and you have specific words or incantations that you want to say when you're burying that or setting that offering free, by all means go ahead and do it. But when I say to drop your shit off and go, like I said, I'm talking about public places where we don't want to endanger you in any way. We don't want to cause any trouble for you. So I just wanted to differentiate on that. It's great if you have time to drop them off and spend time and give a little more reverence and a little more honor to the spirits and deities you've been working with. But if not, you've already said everything that you need to say. You've already evoked them or invoked them, and I mean, they know what's up. So I wouldn't worry too much about at the end when you're disposing of things, getting your words exactly right and all that, because you've done the majority of the work already. So I think I covered everything today. This subject may come back up depending on how many more questions I have. The next video I do, people had some questions about me personally, and just my history and how I grew up. So I'll probably be talking about that next time, maybe tomorrow. And I wish you all a very blessed week, and I thank you for watching the videos and commenting. I love seeing the comments, and I appreciate you sharing the videos. If you know of any spiritual groups out there on Facebook or anything, feel free to post my videos on there. They may help somebody. So, and I would love to hear more questions from new people. So have a wonderful week, and I know you're all looking forward to Halloween and Samhain and Dia de los Muertos. So I hope to talk to you soon. Okay, bye.